The Black Phone 2, release date, cast, story, and everything we know. The Black Phone 2 is the upcoming sequel to 2022 breakout horror hit The Black Phone, and there's already intense speculation about what awaits when the grabber returns. 2022's The Black Phone released to positive reviews from critics and audiences alike, with most reviewers praising Ethan Hawke for his performance as the villain of the story. The movie has retained considerable interest in the years since its release, with teases about a potential sequel coming from Derrickson, Hawke, and Hill. Blumhouse's The Black Phone is based on a short story written by Joe Hill and details the capture of 13-year-old Finney Shaw by a serial killer known as the Grabber. As an adaptation of Joe Hill's short horror story, The Black Phone has plenty of scope for a sequel and narrative potential for an intense Black Phone 2 story, bringing audiences face-to-face with the Grabber once again. Derrickson, Hawke, and Hill have all stated in some capacity that a sequel is something they'd be interested in pursuing, and in 2023, it was confirmed that The Black Phone 2 is on the way. Most recent The Black Phone 2 news. Only a few months after it was announced that cameras were rolling on the horror sequel, the latest news confirms that The Black Phone 2 has wrapped. Director Scott Derrickson recently spoke to Screen Rant at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival and took some time to tease what's coming in the follow-up film. "A lot of surprises for sure," Derrickson said coyly, before explaining that the sequel wasn't a foregone conclusion. The director then mentioned the time jump, saying it's basically a high school coming-of-age movie in the same way that the first movie was a middle school coming-of-age film. "A lot of surprises, for sure. I just finished shooting Black Phone 2, and what I can tell you is that I didn't feel obliged to make a sequel. It wasn't a foregone conclusion that I would make a sequel. But I realized that if I made a big movie after Black Phone, which was The Gorge, by the time I was ready to shoot another film, all those kids would have been in high school. So it's basically a high school coming-of-age movie in the same way that the first movie was a middle school coming-of-age film." The Black Phone 2 release date. Though a 4-month delay is bad news for fans, it could allow the sequel to score a larger audience, since Halloween is a popular time for horror movies. The Black Phone 2 release date was set for June 27, 2025, but that date has since been adjusted. Now, the horror sequel is scheduled to arrive on October 17, 2025. Though a 4-month delay is bad news for fans, it could allow the sequel to score a larger audience, since Halloween is a popular time for horror movies. It will be distributed by Universal Pictures and is expected to have a theatrical release. It's unclear at this time when The Black Phone 2 will be available for streaming or where it can be watched once its theatrical run ends. The Black Phone 2 cast. Helping the sequel truly gain momentum, Ethan Hawke will be back as the Grabber in The Black Phone 2. It is unclear how the Grabber will be back, considering his death at the end of the first film, but it is often difficult to keep a good villain down. Alongside the burgeoning horror icon, the rest of the first movie's main cast will also be reprising their roles. One newcomer has joined the cast, and Demian Baker, the nun, will step into an as-yet unnamed role. The Black Phone 2 story details. There aren't any specific details about the plot of The Black Phone 2 yet, but the director of the first movie, Scott Derrickson, has revealed that author Joe Hill has some ideas about what the sequel could entail. In a 2022 interview, Scott Derrickson teased that Hill already has a solid idea for a sequel to The Black Phone, and that the director would be happy to return to bring it to life. "Joe Hill pitched me a wonderful idea for a sequel to Black Phone that, if this movie does well, I'm gonna do it. He's got a great idea. I really liked it." Joe's very protective and personal about his material, but he came to me with the idea and I was like, "That's how you do a sequel to Black Phone. That's terrific." While it's unclear exactly what Joe Hill proposed as a sequel to The Black Phone, the story as it stands lends itself to many possibilities. If the grabber's victims are able to call from the afterlife and have some sort of effect on the real world, maybe a sequel will find him doing much the same, albeit in a much more terrifying way. Another possibility is delving into the grabber's past and learning more about what makes him the way he is. Nothing is certain yet, but audiences can expect it to be both a compelling and potentially horrifying follow-up in The Black Phone 2.